Hi, Elaine here with another video for Stamping Bella. Today I'm going to be colouring some darker skin tones using one of the new Tiny Townie Butterfly Girls, Butterfly Girl Bess. After last week's post where I came up with some colour combination suggestions for colouring dark skin tones using Copic markers, a few people asked if I could do a colouring video showing how I colour darker skin tones. I colour in much the same way as I do for the lighter skin tones, but I thought I'd put a video together anyway and chat a little bit about the colour choices and some thoughts on colouring darker skin tones and skin tones in general. I stamped the image using my favourite things, extreme black ink, on my favourite paper for alcohol markers, Make It Colour blending card, which, as I mentioned in my last video, is available on my blog, particularly for people in the UK and Europe. If you are in the US or elsewhere, you may want to look at something like Express It blending card, which is another good one and is more widely available. As you can see, I'm using my usual approach to colouring, which is to use my lightest shade, or in this case, my base tone, which is a violet V28, to map out where I want my darkest colour to go. I then go over this with a smaller amount of the darkest shade, in this case the E79. And then I blend it out with the mid-tone, in this case E27. And then I return to my lightest shade, or in this case the base tone, to blend out into that highlight area. And then I repeat as necessary to achieve the desired result. You don't have to colour this way. I'd recommend experimenting and finding which approach works best for you. You may prefer to colour darkest to lightest, or jump around in a different way. You may not like to layer as much as I do. Really experiment and find out what works for you. I will pop a couple of links in the description below to the blog posts that I've created with more colour combination suggestions. The colour combination that I filmed today was my favourite from the selection that I came up with. I really like this really dark skin colour with the bluish undertone. I find it quite striking. But if you check out the blog posts, you will see that there are some different versions with darker browns that create a slightly different effect with the bluish undertone, using the violet marker. But also there is one with a more pinkish tone to it, using E04 as the base tone. Darker skin, much like lighter skin, can have a variety of different undertones. It isn't just flat brown. So I'd recommend taking a look at some photos. If you do an image search online, you can take a look at photos of different toned skin colours, different light skin tones, different dark skin tones. Look at them and see whether they have more sort of pinkish undertones, more bluish, and see how you can suggest that in your colouring. This is quite a simple style of image, so I think it's probably not really that appropriate to go overboard with too many different colours. If you were colouring a more realistic, detailed portrait image, it would make sense to evaluate and bring in various different colours to different areas of the skin. but we're not creating a photorealistic image here. It really is just a simple cartoonish image. So just using some of the ideas to create the suggestion of different tones to the skin is enough to bring interest and life to the image without going overboard and making life too complicated. After all, we only have a fairly small space to fill here, and that being the case on many stamped images. And so it's more important to just try and create some strong contrast and have some interest in there, to avoid ending up with just a flat brown blob. On a side note, filming this video or editing it was a little farcical. I ended up having to refilm the skin colouring portion, and then the footage got corrupted, so we're actually missing the footage where I colour the legs, although I think you can pretty much get the point from watching me colouring the face and the arm. I have included the footage of me colouring the rest of the image, the hair and the outfit and the wings, mostly because, especially with these darker tones, I find that the skin can look a little bit weird until you finish colouring the image. And certainly that highlight on the skin really doesn't start to pop or come out until you've coloured the areas around it, much like if you colour a object that is white using greys, as I did in my last video. Until you introduce more colour into the picture, that looks grey and it doesn't start to come out as looking white. So yeah, as you add the hair colouring to this, you can see the face start to make more sense, and it doesn't look quite so weird. This is something that actually occurs particularly when you're doing no line colouring, and that's probably why it's more the case here with the darker skin tones, because it's harder to see the black lines, the black outline around the face. So hopefully by including the rest of the colouring, you can get a better idea of what the skin tone looks like. That's all I've got to say really. So thank you for joining me. I'll leave you with the sped up colouring of the rest of the image. Make sure you check out the blog post linked below, like this video and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more, and I will catch you next time.